Great tuskers have become extremely rare in the whole of Africa. They are the uncontested rulers in the royal land of the Tembe Elephant Park.
Mama, mama, mama Africa, mama, mama, mama Africa.
Many endangered species have found a relatively safe place of refuge in northeastern South Africa, on the border to Mozambique. The great tuskers are better protected from ivory poachers here than elsewhere. And there's a reason for that. They're under the special protection of the Tembe king and the local community. They're not just the elephant kings, but the king's elephants.
The establishment of the Tembe Elephant Park, that was initiated by my father, the late Nkosi, in 1983. There was some elephants that they've been walking around to the community homestead. And then my father, he received a complaint from the community that these elephants, they are worrying them to your homestead, they are eating their crops and all that. And then my father, he begged some nature conservation people to come on board. He swore the agreement. It was formulated to make sure that we'll have our own park called Tembe Elephant Park.
It was a kingly idea in two ways. That much is clear after more than 3 decades. Instead of endangering the livelihoods of the local population, the elephants have become one of the region's most important sources of income. Tourists are happy to take the long trip to the remote border region, since they're almost guaranteed to see baby elephants, giraffes and lions here, as well as great tuskers, a name that comes from the old hunting slang.
Tembe is a very special place when it comes to our elephants. We do have a lot of really big tuskers in the park. We're very lucky from a genetic point of view for the elephants in this park. That could probably be because of the difficulty that it would have been to hunt elephants in this area during the peak of the ivory trade. So it might be that we've got remnants from back then that the genetics carried through to now. And yeah, that's just a blessing actually.
Very few people actually consider elephants a blessing. They're often perceived as more of a burden for the local population, even as serious environmental nuisances, in spite of the fact that they look after the landscape in many ways. The undigested tree and fruit seeds in their dung don't just sustain other animals, they also contribute to the spread of seedlings and therefore to reforestation. Another reason to protect the great tuskers.
For an elephant bull to be a tusker, it needs to be a 100-pounder, which is an old hunting term. That's where the term tusker comes from. 100 pounds is 45.5 kilos. So for a bull to reach that would then make him qualify for a tusker, which is something that is very rare in Africa at the moment, well, in the world, but in Africa with our elephant. It does happen, so we're very blessed with that, but there's not many elephants that reach that status, and when they reach that status, they're normally quite old.
In the colonial period, ivory was called white gold, Today it's an illegal, albeit sought-after, trading commodity. In Tembe, the people have recognized that tusks on live animals possess a far greater value. It's not just that elephants attract tourists from all around the world. The people also owe the discovery of their most important agricultural product to the elephants.
Even before the consumption by human beings of the Marula fruit, elephants from long time ago, they used to feed on it. And it has now become part and parcel of the culture and the way of life of our people. So elephants and Marula are synonymous.
When the fruits are harvested, it's a reason to celebrate in the land of the Tonga, of whom the Tembe form a subgroup.
February in Tonga culture is the beginning of the year. And then it's time when Marulas are peak ripening. So people will collect Marula and punch them and make beer from it. And then we take the beer to a king's crown and then we make a festival. We name that festival Mtai. So we make a festival which we celebrate the beginning of the year. The king will actually slaughter some cows and we will all, the Tonga people wear their traditional attires and we represent our culture, we celebrate the beginning of the year. This is how Mtai.
It's the women's right to bring the first big bottle of Marula beer to the king. They harvested all the fruit after all. Under the critical gaze of the warriors, they present the fresh fruits to the king on the left, with the Minister of Economic Development and Tourism by his side. It's a media event like most traditional celebrations, not just in Africa. South African television broadcasts live for 3 hours for breakfast TV, thereby controlling the choreography. A 3-minute war dance until the next commercial break. Nevertheless, the Tembe want to be more than just folklore. Their dances are reminders of the heyday of the Tonga kingdom. Its roots go back almost half a millennium. The borders drawn up by the colonial powers divided the Tonga, so that they now live in 3 countries: Mozambique, Swaziland and South Africa. In South Africa, they're named after their king, Tembe, or Tembe Tonga. During the annual Marula festival, they all come together and start singing centuries-old war songs. "You can't burn us because we're forged of iron," says the chorus. The stomping emphasizes the singing. In their entire history, the Tembe Tonga have never been defeated in war. That's what the leopard skin of the Tembe king signifies. Heading the procession of warriors in the sign of the leopard demonstrates a clear claim to power, as does the lion symbol for some of the warriors themselves.
This is our emblem, that's a sign of power. So it tells he's the king, like the king of the jungle. And then whenever someone comes, wherever he comes, everyone surrenders. And that's how he represents himself. So that's how it represents the Tembe king. He's a king, he's a mighty king.
It's no surprise that the king's elephants in the Tembe Elephant Park were joined by king's lions.
I personally introduced lion after we have done consultation, because I'm not doing it by myself. I'm doing it on behalf of the community. So we have done that consultation. After that, I went and fetched 4 lions. It was 2 males and 2 females.
Countless precautions such as electric fences are necessary to allow the lions to live near the cattle herds.
Do not disturb the humble lion. The humble lion may be deep in meditation.
Lions, elephants, buffaloes, rhinos and leopards. They're known as the Big Five. That's another hunting term. Among them, the lions with their famous roar are probably the strongest brand in ecotourism.
Raw, 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 raw like a lion.
The Big Five is one of the good attraction for tourists. So we want to grow as other big parks that we got in South Africa, because this is one of the things that we can actually grow the economy around the area, since we don't have big, factories. So the only thing that it can actually creating a job opportunity, it will be conservation for now.
It's normal among game reserves to sell and trade lions. Some animals are moved several times in their life. That has economic and ecological reasons. To refresh a gene pool, or to reduce the pressure on prey, for example.
We are so unique in having a Big Five reserve in this particular area known as the Maputo Coastal Plain area. So it's very nice that we were able to introduce lions back into this area that once historically occurred here.
A group photo of elephant bulls with a pride of lions in the background is undoubtedly the dream of all safari tourists. Advertising brochures like to conjure up the cliché of a wild, pristine Africa. But the occurrence of almost all big game species requires constant monitoring and close control. In reality, wildlife management and scientific supervision are the key concepts. Uncontrolled proliferation could easily cause stress in a game species.
A lioness will roll. Sometimes she will roll because she is calling the friends because they live in a group. But sometimes she might be calling to help the male in the same area to claim the territorial area.
With its 300 square kilometres, Tembe isn't a small reserve, and it's definitely no safari park. It possesses an intact, largely untouched ecosystem. But elephants and lions can reproduce quickly. Radio collars help with research, even though not everyone likes them.
For me, a collared lion doesn't look like a wild animal. Although they do it for research purposes, it looks like it's a domestic animal. So if I were the one making the decision, I would do away with the collars, leave the lion to live their normal life.
There's an unavoidable conflict of interests between conservation and tourism. The more tourists come, and the better the infrastructure, the greater the interference with the wild animals' lives and the environment. The small number of sand tracks suitable for 4x4s means it's rare for elephants and safari trucks to meet. The behaviour of these young bulls that still live with their mother shows that they're not that familiar with humans. The herds of elephant cows and their young spend most of the day in the dense forests. That's why they're spotted much less often than the bulls. And that easily leads to the false conclusion that the elephant park is a male-dominated sphere.
In Tembe, in the past, we used to have a very skew population with a lot more bulls to female ratio. That has naturalized over the last couple of years, so we've had lots of mortalities of big bulls, which ended up stabilizing the population back to a more normal structure between females and bulls.
This is how a young bull shows his irritation. Only those in the know, like Tom Mahambo, can spot whether an animal really feels threatened or is just adopting a threatening posture. Maybe it's both at the same time. It's only adult bulls in must that are really problematic. That's when they're in mating mode.
The social hierarchy is a very difficult thing to see sometimes. It normally has to do with the physical size of the elephant, but when a bull goes into must, his ranking changes as well because he's a lot more aggressive. So it normally has to do with physical size. But yeah, the best way to see it is when there's something that they all want and they'll almost line up so you can see who will go first and who will end up getting last.
Water is the element they all want. As long as no must bull is in the vicinity, the hierarchy ensures that everything goes peacefully according to the existing power structure. But the bulls experience a huge surge in testosterone when they're in must, and then things can get quite uncomfortable at the watering hole. During this period of arousal, which lasts several months, their sex drive is increased, and this makes them aggressive. Unlike stags during the rutting season, not all elephants are in must at the same time. That usually prevents violent, life-threatening fights. Younger bulls often accompany the older ones, from whom they can learn a lot. The older ones are called askaris. It's a word borrowed from Swahili and means guardian.
Askaris come from where you find a senior bull in a company of a young man, and then as he gets older, they are with him to look after him, and they can defend him should anything try to attack them. So the askaris are those young bulls accompanying the senior bull.
The two water holes are the best place to observe animal behavior. For example, what a trunk is for, other than drinking water.
The trunk is a sensitive organ, so it has a very acute sense of smell with the trunk. So sometimes they will try to smell friends a distance away with the trunk, or sometimes he will be smelling fresh stuff like urine or the droppings of other elephant, and quickly analyze that whether males or females, and maybe how fresh is that. So they use the trunk to pick up the scent, of course, including smelling human is present around their whereabouts.
That can get quite exciting, particularly if you're not as cool as Patrick.
For elephants being a bit bullyish around water holes and things, it's normally your young males that would be doing that. Your older males are normally not too bothered with playing around, stuff like that. So it's normally the young males that's doing that, and I think it's because they're quite big and they know it, and they're just a little bit naughty sometimes, chasing things around.
Female and male elephants lead completely different lives. While the cows always stay in the circle of their female relatives and their young, the bulls are on their own from age 20 at the latest. Sticking a trunk in each other's mouth is more than a friendly greeting. It's how, as an elephant, you foster your relationships with the powerful. But the great tuskers aren't just hugely important for the young bulls.
This is our pride, and it's a symbol of our kingdom. When you see Tembe, there's that elephant. Elephant meaning strength. And if you understand about elephants, they only react when you play with them, otherwise they're peaceful. Our local Nkosi and our local government are working hard because the whole community and everybody around, they know the importance of keeping our animals around the area, because that's what attracts most of our tourists, which is part of our commercial support.
For a long time, Tembe was a well-kept secret. Now so many wildlife fans come here that the only lodge within the park needed a bigger restaurant. The manager informs the king about construction progress and other successes. The king owns a stake in the lodge.
The lodge, it was initiated to be a community lodge. That is one of the most important things, in a sense that whatever that we are doing there, we are doing it in the name of community. We got a black manager there, even though there's a program that will train people to make sure they will know exactly what they are doing.
According to official company philosophy, they want to offer their guests a home away from home. The best service with a smile is more than just a slogan here.
It's heartwarming to see how the girls take care of every single little thing. You can tell they really enjoy the work. They don't think they're useless or secondary. They're in charge of the situation, and they own this property, and hopefully this can spread to other regions in Africa. Everything else I've seen so far has been big management.
Big management would seem to refer to a certain category of managers. The Tembe Lodge, on the other hand, banks on local staff.
Tembe Lodge is a 50-50 partnership lodge with an investor from Durban, and it is completely run by the local people. So all the staff you see here are local people. So the reason for that is because this is a poor side of the country, so there is no enough industries to provide jobs for the local people. So the first job opportunity from this lodge is offered to the local people just to survive. So that's why the Tembe is so unique from other lodges.
Around 50 local people found their first proper job here. Tom is an example. Before he became lodge manager, he worked as a guide.
I like guiding the most because nature is my passion. So I also like to see the way nature behaves. When you get out there, you feel like you're in paradise. So that's why I like to go out guiding a lot, more than sitting in a camp and looking what people are doing right or not doing right.
When one of the usually shy leopards suddenly wants a selfie, as it were, this passion becomes much clearer. A good guide needs other qualities too. The willingness to take risks is not one of them. The guide has to clear the path in time and be able to correctly interpret the behavior of all the big game. But a guide also has to be able to tell young and old about the many small miracles of nature.
When I was little, I was a huge fan of Maya the bee. I always watched that show. There's one character, a beetle with a round ball. Now I'm here in South Africa, and I'm on safari, and I see a beetle like that. And afterwards, I just think that nature's amazing, seeing how a beetle pushes such a huge ball.
Seeing that in real life, how a male beetle the size of half a thumb envelops his young in a big ball of elephant dung and places the female on top so she can quickly lay a few more eggs before he rolls the whole thing into a hollow and then starts covering it all. That was overwhelming. From very small creatures to big elephants, it's all been great.
Vom ganz kleinen zum ganz großen Elefanten. Es war alles schön. One money can be more understanding, I will say. We have to get rid of them.
The guides are entrusted with the lives and health of the tourists. They have to undergo lengthy training as rangers and pass strict exams. Even though most guides have never seen a university from the inside, they're the professors of the African bush, thanks to their many years of experience. Their trained eyes miss almost nothing, especially not a camouflaged lion close to the elephant.
That's why I cry now.
Manner of approaching elephant, doing game drive. We always emphasize what we were trained, that you have to keep elephant at comfort zone. That's when elephant is feeding and you are watching it. Then recognizing zone. So elephant is there, you are there watching, and then he begins to look at you. That is still a good zone, but still you have to be careful. And then if he goes behind that so-called recognizing zone, he can get in what we call critical zone. So then you have to see if elephant is in most, or if it's a head, if they have babies, then they get too close to you, that's a critical. Because it's either they can start to fight or they can run away.
The guides are important ambassadors of conservation. Every approach should ideally allow observations of the animal's natural behaviour, even though that doesn't always work. A big vehicle with passengers who can be quite noisy can be alarming to animals. That's one of the reasons why it's strictly forbidden for anyone to leave the tracks in Tembe. They have to avoid all dangers, but sometimes that's easier said than done.
When a bull is ready for mating, that happens about 2 to 3 months a year. They can be aggressive. As a field guide, if you spot that, then you have to keep away from the elephant. Don't allow him so close, he will be aggressive. So if he's getting too close, remember, elephant will always stretch out ears. When he's stressed, then you have to back off. If the elephant is in mast, we'll have an excretion from temporal gland between the eye and ear, dripping downward, and then the underpants will be dripping urine because they are full of hormones or testosterone. So that means he must go and look for cows to mate with them. That is what it means to be in mast.
The word must comes from the Indian Urdu language and essentially means intoxication. This condition is reserved for adult elephant bulls, particularly during their best reproductive years, between the ages of 40 and 50. If this rhino were to encounter a mussed bull and shape up for a fight, it would be in serious danger. It has nothing to fear from the young adolescent male, but the piece can be deceptive.
I know it can be dangerous, but with the field guiding course that we did, you understand if you keep on giving a space to animal like an elephant and he comes to you softly, not fast, you realize that he is not dangerous.
8 hours every day, eye to eye with giants that aren't always gentle, gives the safari guides an immeasurable advantage. They know most of the older animals very well and are familiar with their characters. As soon as bulls reach a certain size, they're given names like McDonald's, Rudy, or Easylow. This is less about personifying them than it is about acknowledging their individual personalities. That's how the guides know which animals should be enjoyed close up, only with caution.
I'm relaxed, but I know it's dangerous. The swimmer always dies swimming, so maybe one day I'll die guiding. But if you're lucky, you don't see danger too close.
The guides take the risk knowingly. While their wages are anything but handsome, they can get by with their tips. That's not the case for the population in the surrounding villages. They live with the dangers posed by wild animals that break the fences from time to time. They're also not allowed to collect wood, hunt, or use the natural resources in other ways. However, their support is vital for effective conservation and the preservation of the biodiversity.
KZN Wildlife has a vested interest in making sure that the people that live on our boundaries have some sort of gain from what we do in protected areas. By that, we offer employment. Our parks, at each and every one of our entrance gates, we have what we call a community levy, which are funds that are generated from the gate takings by the people entering our parks and gets put back into the community to help them develop schools, hospitals, educating some of the people, so that the people out there don't just see us as a them and an us. We like to work together to form a partnership so that there's benefit on both sides.
Local communities and the game reserve are dependent on each other. Unemployment and poverty are rife in the Tembe region. Official statistics paint a drab picture with regard to infrastructure, social security, health and educational opportunities, let alone pollution and littering. The conservationists therefore want to start with the largely young population. The idea is for them to see the reserve as an opportunity for a better future.
When you're failing to teach the local people, you find them getting inside the game reserves, unaware that they are doing bad things for the game reserve. You're finding kids dumping the plastic on a game reserve at their homes sometimes, putting rubbish in water. So those things, we need to give them the education. It's easy to understand when somebody talking with you. That's why I'm taking them to inside the game reserve, even to see the animals, to see every wildlife stuff, because some of them, they don't know what's an elephant, what is a rhino, what is a lion. It's great for them.
Such programs cost a lot of money, but the investment's always worthwhile. The children are the crucial multipliers. They tend to report back to their parents with real enthusiasm. Parents who may never have visited the reserve before, even though some of them live only a few meters away. They often don't have any idea of the wilderness on the other side of the fence that protects them from elephants, rhinos and lions, and which in return also seriously limits the space available to the animals.
Being fenced in this park, not being able to migrate, does pose a couple of challenges. You have to keep the population to certain numbers and things. You cannot keep massive numbers of elephant in a confined space. They can be quite destructive if their numbers go too high, but if you keep their numbers on good levels through whichever methods, then you can actually keep the elephants happy and the environment healthy and happy as well. So for us in Tembe, we've chosen to do contraception, which to us is one of the better solutions. We are not stopping elephants from having babies, we're just letting them have less babies. So we're trying to stabilize the population out, which we have achieved in the last couple of years. So we don't have any growth in the park, but we also don't have the population going down.
It's still a privilege of the wealthy, mostly foreign tourists to go on a photo safari. The visitor programs for school children, and maybe even for their parents, do little to change that. What's really crucial is whether the people in the area surrounding the park consider it a communal asset that will ultimately provide a revenue stream. Worrying about that is one of the main jobs of the royal family, who, it goes without saying, are among the privileged and are materially and symbolically enriched by the wild animals.
I love the elephant. I think because it has a memory that does not go away. It is so calm in everything it does, but has so much power. It demands power. I always want to see young African women grow up to be like that, demand power without being loud. When they walk in, you stop and you look at them. So if I was to ever be compared to an animal, it'd be an elephant because of that power and how they are very gracious in everything they do. As big as they are, you look at how they walk. They're slow walkers, their tusks, everything is just so, it's seamless. So as a woman, that's it, power.
The Marula festival is all about strength, energy and power too. The relatively young king of the Tembe wants the festival to become a second attraction alongside the elephant park to push forward his kingdom's economic development. That's made very clear by the video walls and the festival stage. In addition, the Harvest Festival is being sponsored more and more by politicians.
The biggest thing that we normally celebrate is our Marula Festival. Now we have branded ourselves with our Marula Festival in a sense that this Marula Festival is attract a lot of people.
The warrior regiment and festival goers cheer not just for their royal ruler, but also for the many local politicians. They get to try the sacred Marula beer. The event is also an unofficial hustings for the upcoming regional elections.
The Marula is sacred in the sense that it's like a direct fruit from God, which He gives us personally. Even the white animals, they love it. Even elephants. So that's why it's very dear to us, because it's when we all become one. The animals, the people, everything. That means we all belong to the Mother Earth. We are all one people. As much as the animals are animals, we are only different in degree, but in kind, we're all the same. So basically, that's what brings us together. That's why it's very important to us.
When the king takes the first sip of the fresh Marula beer, the ancestors drink with him. That's enough to accommodate tradition. Then the politicians are allowed to bless the harvest. First up, the Minister for Development, Tourism and Environment. They also get to sing along to the latest local hits. Populism appears to have become a global phenomenon, as has the omnipresence of the media and cameras.
It's quite a number of things that we have to perform as the Inkosi. The key role that I have to perform is to make sure that I'm bringing peace and stability in my tribe, to make sure that I also become more creative in terms of job creation.
For the local elite, it's about the successes they want to be measured by. In the province of KwaZulu-Natal, they're competing against other ethnic groups, particularly against the powerful Zulu nation.
I see Mthai growing. I see it linking different countries to come see what, not necessarily South Africa, but what the Tongas have to offer. I think we are so used to saying, let's go see what Zulus are. Zulus, when we forget that there's so many other cultures. I see Mthai bring in political leaders coming in and them sharing a drink when they're always fighting in parliament. I see Mthai bring in presidents that always talk down on each other, but when they're here, they're happy to enjoy something that's common, a fruit that's free, and just laughter. So I hope in the next 5 years, when you come back again, and it's bigger and it's better, but it still holds its value. It doesn't lose the essence of its people and the animals, and the king saying, let's harvest and enjoy what God has given us and our ancestors.
A good harvest. Metaphorically, that means fulfilling the basic needs and enjoying the simple pleasures in life. And even in this remote part of South Africa, That means entertainment, mobile phones, access to electricity, clean water, and enough to eat. The Marula festival will, it's hoped, make its contribution, just like the use of the natural treasures for tourism. Traditional culture as a value-adding factor. Anthropologists may be as critical about this as conservationists are about the marketing of wild animals. Others say the end justifies the means.
In KwaZulu-Natal, in this province alone, we have more than 116 various game parks. Some of those game parks, they have animals, but some of them, they are actually preserving some of the very important species, be they trees, be they grass, be they flowers. And for us, we think ecotourism is the best experience that any yearning tourist anywhere in the world would be able to find. So if you come to this part of South Africa, you would know that not only are you in Africa, you will enjoy safari, but you will also enjoy safari together with the Marula beer. What a best way to relax.
In a speech to the lodge guests that he makes every night, Tom Mahambo also expresses profound thanks for the support of the local population. Without you, he repeats night after night, we wouldn't have food in the pot, our children wouldn't have shoes on their feet, and the animals we all love so much wouldn't have space to live. In the realm of the elephant kings, other animals can flourish that might land in the pot elsewhere.
It's our natural heritage. Wildlife is what we are. Africa has always been known to be the kingdom of wildlife.
Tourism benefits wildlife because without tourism, there will be no wildlife, if you have to be honest. Because if there are more people are coming here to this lodge, they're actually creating awareness to the local people to say, look after your heritage because it's what can bring you a job in the future.
In this way, fighting poverty and conserving the environment aren't contradictions in terms. The Tembe Elephant Park is one of the quite rare success stories in the fight for preserving the world's biodiversity. The populations of elephants, rhinos, lions and other animals are declining in many parts of Africa. As everywhere else, humans are responsible. Quite without pathos, we ask whether the generation not yet born will have a chance to experience wild animals more or less in the wild.
I think it's nice that parks like this still exist, where you can go out into nature and see the animals. So it's not like going to a zoo. It's breathtaking when you sit here and see two giraffes and then there's a lion. I think it's magnificent.